500 round, full auto, belt fed, NERF M134 Minigun. You want to download a car? Well, maybe you should, because it's the future, baby! And we got robot slaves that can make us fancy toys! Yeah, I don't know about you, but I didn't have 3D printed minigun at the top of my Apocalypse bingo. But here we are, because the madman GatlingTommy has developed the MOAB, the mother of all blasters. And remember, it's not about the size of your barrels, it's what they're printed out of. I want to call this a small blaster because this is a Nerf blaster, but it's fairly chunky. You can imagine the amount of time and effort that goes into not only designing a literal M134 Nerf minigun that is practically functionally identical to the real thing, but just printing and building this unit alone. Yeah, the GatlingTommy dedicated 2 years of his life to this. And you can only imagine how much time it takes to print the backpack and the chain for 500 rounds of full auto Nerf blasting glory. There is nothing like this in the hobby. If you want to fire 500 foam darts at a stupidly high rate of fire, the MOAB is what you're wanting. That being said, we'll point this out right now that I literally have the MOAB. This is one of one. This is the prototype that I am here to test and make sure that the thing can work. And as you can probably tell by all this filament that doesn't match everything else on the blaster, I've had a little bit of issues that will be fixed. That being said, I'll have links down below to where you can contact and follow what GatlingTommy is doing, because Thomas doesn't exactly know how he's going to get this in the hands of other people, although he says he wants to and he's exploring options. So contacting him or just following what he's doing for when he has an idea of how to get these things into your hands will be your best bet. But be prepared to spend used car amounts of money on a completed blaster, and probably about the same for a hardware kit, because obviously,
it's a freaking Nerf Minigun.
This is a great time for me to remind you to like and subscribe, because Nerf freaking Minigun. And also a quick shout out, because I'm going to be at Jared's Epic Blaster Battle in LA, Indy, and of course Dallas this summer. I'll have all the links down below for that as well. But the LA one is coming up next month on May the 13th. So if you want to hang out, fling some foam with hundreds of other people in an NFL stadium, yeah, come join me and get shot in the face by 8-year-old psychos with Dart Zone Pro blasters they have to use their entire weight to prime. It's a lot of fun. Where do I even begin with this? Well, we'll start with the backpack, because this thing uses a backpack and an actual like chain guiding sleeve thing, and yes, it feeds from a chain. And I can tell you straight up front, this thing takes about an hour to load, and at maximum speed you can shoot it for about 9 seconds. The chain is an interesting beast because there's 2 pieces to it. There's the actual link itself and the shell that snaps into the link. Belt-fed blasters should be more common, but the biggest problem is always the chain. If you use a Vulcan, for instance, if you have 25 rounds or 50 rounds of Vulcan chain hanging out, you're just gonna destroy your Vulcan because the clutch can't handle it. But if your chain delinks, yeah, that's really useful. Tilt that down, keep going. Oh. And yeah, seriously, this thing is the most complex toy you could ever have 3D printed. It delinks and ejects the shell casings and the chain links. But of course, we have to have a contest down below. Before you see this video, stop right now, go down there and tell me how you think this blaster fires a foam dart. Is it a Springer? Is it a flywheeler? An air blaster like an HPA thing, or CO2 perhaps, or maybe some kind of absurd stringer? Well, it's a Springer because you can manually fire the blaster by just rotating the turret. It's the coolest thing ever. You don't even have to have it fired up to actually use the blaster. And each one of these barrels here is actually timed. They're real barrels, unlike every single other minigun-like thing you see in the hobby where it just shoots out the center of the faux barrel and the faux barrel does nothing but look cool. These are functional. Now, of course, you're probably wondering why they aren't longer, because of course that would look cool. Well, that's because obviously you just saw me rotate this thing and have it fire a foam dart. So you can imagine when this thing is powered up with a 5S LiPo battery, if there were long barrels, that could cause a lot of problems, like my luscious long hair getting caught in them, or your hand or something else. There's nothing stopping this thing. There is no clutch mechanism, unfortunately. It could be something that's added in the future, but let's give Thomas a break here. He designed a freaking NERF minigun. So yes, loading the chain, putting the chain together, loading darts into it, and loading it into the backpack is about an hour-long ordeal by yourself. And once everything's loaded, this little key right here is the only part at the moment that's keeping this entire chain from just spilling out of the backpack. But of course, to have that high capacity and of course high rate of fire, you need to have a backpack like this and you need to have a chain. But it's kind of funny because even if you compare it to something like the Airsoft minigun, that is a thing and that is a real price that I'm sure some people have paid. There is no backpack or anything like that. And again, functionally identical to an M134 minigun. I have literally no idea what to expect from this because as far as I know, it works. That's a burst fire, apparently, because I'm pulling... Or not? No, it just lets you...
Oh, God.
Yeah. Is that not the coolest thing ever?
It's pretty much perfection.
Yeah, that sound is not a sound effect. That is an actual sound of this blaster firing. This thing will make you feel like the manliest of man-children when using it because it is violent. And the funniest part is, that's not even full speed. Okay. Okay. All right. Thomas clocks this thing in at about 58 darts per second. And it is absurd. Getting something to hit that speed is almost unheard of anyway. But of course, this is the beta unit. This is the original. This was literally the unit that was made to say, okay, it works. Now I can add to it. And Thomas thinks he can get it up to about, oh, I don't know, triple that speed. But maybe that's shooting a little too close to the sun. We'll say double that speed. Chronograph numbers? Here's your chronograph numbers. Screw our battery cover back on, and right away you will see this thing has a computer in it. It might be a little hard to see on camera because refresh rates and whatnot, but this is an ammo counter. This thing counts ammo. But you can press the button and move around a joystick, and it has two selectable profiles for shooting that you can customize. So if you want to use this thing practically, you can literally just make it shoot 6, 12 darts every single time you pull the trigger, so you don't have to burn through the entire backpack in one go, which makes this thing a ridiculous close quarters combat blaster, especially with the size. It's tiny, you can maneuver it around walls and everything effortlessly, it's hip fire, and you're just going to delete people because it's practically a shotgun with how fast it fires. Speaking of which, these are shells. You can technically put multiple projectiles in each link, and I have done it. You can have multiple short darts if you chose, or you can have an absurd amount of 50 caliber foam balls in there to turn it into a legit minigun shotgun. But it already costs about $30 to fire this weapon for 9 seconds. You can also customize the ammo counter, because of course you could customize the ammo counter, because technically you can have whatever length chain you want on this thing. I'm fully expecting to see a double-stacked backpack in the future that can hold over 1,000 rounds. A man dedicated 2 years of his life to design this for some reason, and he is now my new god. After you plug in the LiPo and it automatically fires up, I kind of wish it had an external kill switch, to be perfectly honest, because plugging in a LiPo and having it spark is super scary. Hopefully that's a thing addressed in the future. You have pretty simple controls. Unfortunately, you can't rev this thing and have the barrel spinning and do that really cool intimidation thing because the barrel is imperative to how the actual blaster functions, but you can still do some cool stuff. So the grip back here has got a cover safety switch and a single button that feels amazing. Press that button to fire the blaster. However, she currently don't fire because there's a rocker switch located up near the foregrip. Sorry, lefties, this one's exclusive for right-handed people. I'm sure that can be flipped around in the future, but that's a lot of work to mirror all these parts, I feel. And this switch has 3 positions: safety, which is the middle, firing profile 1, and of course down is firing profile 2. Right now, firing profile 1 is set to be a 6-shot burst, so let's hold this up and let's dirty the studio because you have to experience what I'm about to lay down here. We might have one more burst left in it. I don't want to step on any stuff, so you can actually hear the shells hitting the table. And then, of course, firing profile 2 is full auto. I'll even give you a look at the ammo counting. That is you can feel every bit of that. The funniest part is that was only at 1,000 rounds per minute, and that's already ridiculously fast. And yet that's a third of the maximum speed. So that's a third of the speed.
No.
That was my exact reaction.
Oh my
I had been using this thing at a third of the speed. So
Mode 1, we're gonna turn up the max.
both of them, but let's start in mode 1.
6-drop burst. Okay. Dude. Yeah. Oh, holy crap.
Oh, that's not a 6-shot burst. That's like a 12-shot burst because the computer just can't keep up.
Right. And then
If you're gonna do this, empty the pack.
I can do that.
Okay.
Pretty
So when you
easily.
stop hearing things, stop.
Okay.
Fire one.
Oh, I feel indecent.
Backpack's a lot lighter now, ain't it?
A little bit, yeah.
But it's all downhill from here. I'm really sorry, everybody, but we have peaked as a species. All right, so this thing is a beautiful, immaculate piece of engineering and is fun as heck to use. What are the downsides? Well, ignoring the obvious things like print time, cost, and so forth, yeah, this thing takes a ridiculous amount of time to reload. But even after the lengthy reload, which, to be fair, you could just use it in like a 6-shot burst and have essentially a hip-fired shotgun that is nearly endless at that point. The biggest problem is the realism of how the action works, and that means you have cartridge casings and shell links all over the place. And those take a long time to print. You wouldn't want to run around to the field and get these things stepped on, lost, and so forth, because that's a lot of time and money just down the drain. In the future, there could be like a shell catcher for this thing. However, with a 500 round shell, it would be a lot of weight. You would have to have the biggest sack on the field to use this thing. The MOAB is a freaking fantastic blaster that is going to be outside the reaches of everybody, but I hope through this YouTube video and all the work I've put into rebuilding this thing so many times over the last 2 months, this video has taken a very long time to come to fruition.
I peed a little. That's burnt.
The funniest part about it is, that's not a sound effect.
No.
That's it actually firing.
All right. Just Sir, would you like to give this a go before I burn through it all? Okay.
You just want to
You know, that's fair. We'll just finish it off now.
Oh, that looks bad.
Yeah, that is...
That's a problem. Maybe it's just the rate of fire. Like, the faster rate of fire hits harder. And something already just went wrong.
So how about them Brooklyn Dodgers? Are they bums or what?
That you have gotten your fill of this blaster. That being said, I plan on shooting some more videos with this because I got a NERF minigun in the house. I have to use it for a lot more fun content. Again, there's no plans at the moment for anything other than he wishes in the future to be able to get this into other people's hands. So go ahead and click on Thomas's link tree down in the description and in the pinned comment. Follow him on Instagram and all that kind of stuff and keep up to date for the future of this thing because the possibilities at this point are practically endless. When it comes to my changes, I really hope we have a way to add longer barrels to this thing because it needs about triple the length for it to look like a true minigun. And really my biggest hope for this thing is that it can get an actual clutch mechanism built into it. Maybe something with a solenoid so it's an electronic trigger so there's some way for you to have those barrels spin and then press a button to actually engage and fire the thing and also not have to worry about with everything breaking if something goes wrong. Oh, and like an auto shut off. Everything with a computer, everything that takes a lipo, in my opinion, should have an auto shut off. So if I leave this thing sitting around for 15 minutes or something, it just automatically turns itself off. Small complaints that will probably be addressed in the future, but really, it's already so close to perfection. Oh, this video is finally out, and it has been stressing me to the limit for months now. Hopefully it would have just been a really simple video, and it wasn't. I had to rebuild this thing multiple times. But I'm happy, and I hope I did this video justice, and I hope you enjoyed watching it, because without you, Thomas would have never chose me to do this video, and I really hope that Thomas is happy because I have done so much to try to make this video as good as possible. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and of course hopefully Thomas enjoyed it. There are a couple of other people I need to thank. Most of all, Anthony, my friend, who isn't a Nerfer but dabbles with the Nerf stuff because I'm excited for it, and he helped a lot behind the scenes. He helped me reload this thing several times on several different weeks, trying to make sure this thing would function and not make me go insane. He witnessed it destroy itself multiple times. And then of course, there was a day I was going to film with Captain Xavier and Sergeant Deplorable, where it also self-destructed catastrophically, but they were good sports about it, and I appreciate them coming down to help me film, and of course, helping me reload the backpack and everything. It's a lot easier with some good friends around, so I want to thank all of you so very much, and I have a lot more fun things to show, so I really hope you hit that subscribe button. But for that, let's give it a little bit of rest. I will do another minigun thing. In fact, you should let me know down in the comment section what you want to see with this minigun.